did donating money to cancer research be spun as a bad thing? That's what we asked ourselves after a Redmond High School cancer research fundraiser at Panera Bread, where supporters of the event looked down on the mere suggestion of providing money in the name of Eastlake instead of Redmond, though it ultimately went to the same cause. Perplexed, we decided to ask Levi, an active promoter of the fundraiser, a few questions to get a better idea of why he considered this action such a betrayal.
I said that I would come and I would say I'm from Eastlake, and I would still buy Panera Bread.
Sure.
What was your reaction?
It wasn't bad. It was all for a good cause, of course. But to know that you would purposefully betray your school hurt me a little bit. Hurt the sting inside me.
So, why do you think school identity plays so much of a role in this? Because if the goal is to support, cancer research,
right,
then should it really matter whether I came as a sting or as a wolf?
The idea when we were planning the event was to use the sort of spirit behind your school identification and like your school pride and the rivalry in order to kind of feed our fundraiser, sort of, right?
Isn't people going because they support Eastlake in the end no worse than people going because they support Redmond?
I don't think it's any worse, no. But the point was to feed off of people's pride for their school.
What value does the concept of school spirit bring to people?
I think it's mostly to kind of feed into a drive to perform well, whether that be in like sports, or in academics, in arts, that sort of thing.
From an objective perspective, isn't it kind of silly to value, the success of Redmond athletes that you have never met personally more than the success of Eastlake athletes that you've never met personally?
You could certainly say that. I wouldn't say that we necessarily want other places to, like a rival school, to fail, right? We just want to do better. So I think it does kind of make an us versus them, and that does go downhill every couple of years. The only thing that I think about is that it's very difficult for a school as an institution to encourage individual students to do better, or foster in them a drive for higher success, unless it's to bring honor to a certain name. You know what I mean? On an individual scale, it's just more difficult to put into action, I suppose, instead of using soundbite "Ghost Stang's baby," to sort of encourage that sort of movement.
While we see how school identity can be utilized for a purpose, it was almost baffling to see so much negativity about, donating to cancer research. The drive for the group we are forced to be a part of to be superior than others of its kind is so logical that we wanted to see where that thinking comes from and how it manifests in both teenagers and adults. The majority of high school students enthusiastically support school spirit. Cheering for your school is considered cool and necessary to be a true stain. That seems innocent enough until relations between schools go downhill, as Levi said, and rivalries consume the attention of students to the extent that any academic pursuits are fruitless. The idea of school spirit is just another stage in the instillment of conformity in children, which expands into adulthood. The resulting way of thinking plays a big role in the short-sighted and reactionary policies leaders promote worldwide.
Substituting goals and values with adherence to group identity, and self-expression with conformity, is a tendency that plagues modern society. A known phenomenon in psychology, groupthink pervades the minds of the modern populace. We sought to explore the ways the desire to belong to a group is cultivated and promoted by public schools and the government. To examine this, we talked to Mr. Villeneuve, who has been a teacher and coach at Redmond for many years. We asked him about the influence of school spirit events in Redmond High School as a whole, and more specifically, its influence in cross-country and track.
Hey, Mr. Villeneuve.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us today. What do you think of school spirit events like the lip dub and things like that?
Well, if we are speaking of the lip dub, the first year we did it, I thought it was fine, and it seemed like a new, innovative way to kind of get the school together. Since then, I don't know, my opinion is diminishing on it a little bit. It seems like just an excuse to go crazy, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. but I wouldn't say that, oh, now we have more school spirit as a result of doing the looked up. I think school spirit's important and part of a school culture, but I think it can be overdone or overemphasized. And I think a balance is always the key thing. So a balance between academics and extracurriculars and sports and school spirit and all that sort of thing. I think those are all valuable, but I don't think you want to spend too much time and energy on those things, baby. Those things.
I think we're in agreement.
We're social creatures and we need that affiliation. And from that component, I think it can be helpful to academics, but once again, if it's overblown, then I think it can be detrimental. So,
but do you think that perhaps on some level, just on some level, the whole like constant sort of focus on us winning championships and things like that might possibly detract from sort of the spirit of running and improving personally? Because of course you need competition, but the point is not competition with other runners on your team and other teams, but just your team versus the other team all the time.
Well, I mean, that's America, you know, number one. If you win the Super Bowl, great. If you lose it, you're a loser. You know, never forget the fact that you actually got there. You know, everyone wants to be the winner.
School spirit at Redmond is a microcosm of wider trends of group identity. Early humans found it beneficial to form groups and defend against outsiders that could pose an existential danger. Today, in our post-scarcity society, this instinct inhibits expression, unity, and progress. Some people go beyond mere conformity to an active dislike and suppression of nonconformist views. They seem bothered by the difference in others' choices and readily stereotype when confronted by the unexpected. Here is Andrey to discuss an experiment he performed last year on the subject.
Essentially, all I did was wear a dress to school and I acted exactly the same as I did on normal days. I didn't do anything differently, but I observed people's reactions to an outfit that didn't conform to what people generally expected from a guy in high school. We decided to ask Ben, who was one of the people to comment in an interesting way about my social experiment, what he thought of school spirit and things like that. So I wanted to first ask you, you know the social experiment from last year?
Which one?
When I wore a dress to school.
Oh yeah, familiar with, yeah.
Yeah, so what was your reaction to that?
Initially I was like, oh well, I guess Andrey's just gonna go one step further. I was just gonna see, I knew something was up, but I didn't know what it was for, so at least just asking people like, Andrey's wearing a dress.
And what do you think of guys in general wearing dresses?
Guys in general wearing dresses? I'm personally not a fan of wearing a dress. I don't think I'd ever wear a dress.
But what about other guys?
Other guys wearing dresses? I don't know. It's just, you know, you see something out of the ordinary and you're like,
You mentioned in your response personally to me during that day, you mentioned homosexuality, and I'm wondering how that pertains to my dress choice.
Well, I mean, you know, we see dresses as a feminine object, and I think homosexuality often aligns with femininity to people, and I guess that's where I got that image from.
Interesting. The specific choice of words you use, and I have this on record here, was, Andrey, you look like a massive faggot. And I had been wondering, actually, how does the idea of femininity and homosexuality being aligned, in your opinion, how does that translate into that being an acceptable response to someone wearing a dress?
I mean, it's just between friends, you know.
But it's locker room talk.
It seems that some deem the use of derogatory slurs and adherence to stereotypes an effective solution when confronted with a behavior that's not commonly observed. Though Ben does not explicitly speak against homosexuality, the mere mention of it displays his need to label anything that stands out from the norm and to attack it. A larger-scale manifestation of the pressure to conform is nationalism and patriotism. Many people unconditionally support their country of birth for no definite reason, especially in America. To get a better insight on this, we asked Tyler, who is known for his overt patriotism and support of America, why he believes national identity is so crucial.
So I see you've been taking American spirit very seriously. So
This is correct.
why is it that showing your American spirit is so important to you?
I think it's important to show your patriotism. After all, speaking for me, I am a citizen, and everything that this country does to protect me and give me the freedoms that I have, I should show my gratitude to them by expressing my patriotism.
What are your thoughts on the importance of national identity? Like, how does it help you or others?
I guess I would say the national identity is important because it kind of identifies, like it labels us as kind of like helpers of the world. Because like whenever shit hits the fan for other people, it kind of like it default, like America is always the one that steps in to help.
That 66,000 civilians were killed in Iraq since the U.S. invaded.
Do you see America as being in direct competition with other countries? Whatever that means.
I can definitely see that in a couple places, like nuclear arms races with countries like North Korea, China, and Russia, disputes in the South China Sea with China. So, yeah, I could say we're in direct competition, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that that's a good state to have? Or is that something that in the, say, distant future we should work towards, not having?
Well, it's an old saying that goes, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens the other. So if there's no competition to get to the top, we'll never improve. So,
and you think on a global scale that applies between countries?
Absolutely.
Right. While patriotism may not be directly harmful in itself, it can quickly lead to unconditional support of one's country. Morals and objective assessments of situations are displaced by ignorance and a desire to be better than the other people. Unwarranted military intervention and desire to outcompete other countries at tremendous global cost becomes a heroic act of conformity taken to the highest degree. Einstein once said, "Heroism on command, senseless violence, and all the loathsome nonsense that goes by the name of patriotism, how passionately I hate them."
We asked our subjects about their opinions on patriotism and what it would take for the support of America to subside.
Would you say you support America unconditionally?
Unconditionally? Or conditionally?
Unconditionally.
Yeah, I support it unconditionally. I mean, the system works.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything the American government could do, let's say in the next year, that would decrease or abolish your support of America?
Well, I suppose if they became communist, I wouldn't want to be part of that anymore. But that's...
Let's speak in more realistic terms. Like, is there anything that could plausibly happen within the next year or so, or the next 5 years, that would make you think that this is not cool, I can't identify with this?
No, just as long as it's not communism, I'm okay.
How important do you think is patriotism?
I think it's really important to be patriot. Like, scale 1 to 10 and rate an 8. Like, you gotta be loyal to your country.
It's pretty clear that there are many for whom loyalty is more important than the pursuit of global goals and reason. We asked Mr. Villeneuve about his thoughts on patriotism and how it influences progress both nationally and worldwide.
The problem with patriotism is the definition of patriotism. And so no one wants to be unpatriotic per se, committing treason or something in that regard. Mm-hmm. So things get labeled as being patriotic and they're not really being patriotic at all. So I don't like the fact that in the current political system you can't cut military spending because it would be considered unpatriotic. Mm-hmm. And that would be, you wouldn't get reelected or you wouldn't be able to perform your job because people would put that label on you.
Do you support your country unconditionally?
Unconditionally, no.
Okay. So what would it take for you to sort of say, this is not cool, I can't support America in this particular time?
Oh, okay. So the current administration has greatly diminished my pride in America. And I wouldn't be likely to brag to too many people about our current state of affairs. Mm-hmm. So I'm embarrassed, frankly. And so I'm 60 years old, and this is the most unpatriotic I've ever felt as a citizen of the country. So,
last question. Do you think possibly over the long term we should head towards a sort of global society where we see ourselves as global citizens rather than citizens of specific countries?
Of course. I believe that for sure. Yeah.
Great.
No doubt about it.
The extent to which some of Redmond's students need to identify with a group demonstrates the pervasion of conformity, whether it's on a school-wide or a global scale. Somehow, donating to cancer becomes traitorous, while morality becomes dependent on which side of an arbitrary ancient border you were born on. Once a valuable evolutionary trait that helped ensure survival, conformity serves only to hold us back in the modern society. The sooner we let go of pointless traditions like school spirit and patriotism, the sooner the human race can advance to unprecedented heights. There is hope for Redmond and our sister schools if we can see each other as people rather than rivals.